I'd like to begin with one verse from that gospel reading as the focus of our meditation. Then they remembered Jesus' words, and returning from the tomb, they told all this to the 11 and to all the rest. These women arrive at the tomb to treat the body of Jesus, but they find the tomb empty and meet two men dressed in dazzling clothes, usually interpreted as angels. And they ask them the long-lasting question, "Why do you seek the living one among the dead?" We're going to keep coming back to that question in this homily. If you forget it, you can just look to the banner on my left. It's written there. The living one. Jesus is raised and alive. You might have noticed something odd, though, when you heard this lesson. Something that didn't seem quite right with how we usually imagine the stories of Jesus' resurrection. The women go to the tomb and they find all kinds of things there. But you know the one thing they don't find, believe it or not, is Jesus, living or dead. In this gospel account, and it's different in other gospels, but in the Gospel of Luke, these women, so far as we know, do not meet the resurrected Jesus. Jesus appears to other people just following this in the Gospel of Luke, but today, on Easter, in this pericope, in this section of the Gospel of Luke, we don't have that story. We have a different story. We have these women at the tomb who are stunned by what they find. But what we don't have is a resurrection appearance of Jesus. They are told that Jesus is the living one. Why are you seeking the living one among the dead? But they don't get the experience, or what some might call the proof, of Jesus being that living one. I think there's something very contemporary about that. We also weren't there in the first century. We also didn't get to experience of seeing Jesus resurrected now nearly 2,000 years ago. Can we ask ourselves that same question? We are told that this is the living one, but how do we know that? And maybe more resonant than knowing it, because it is, after all, a matter of faith, not knowledge, but maybe is the experiential question. It's not that I want proof, but Jesus, I want to experience the fullness of you here and now. These women at the tomb don't get that experience. Neither do we, at least most of the time. The women don't see Jesus. But what do they have? Then they remembered his words, and returning from the tomb, they went and told all the 11 and all the rest. They remember. I'd like to invite us to dwell in that memory. Because if we look more deeply, I think there's deep meaning for us here. See, in the ancient world, they thought of memory quite differently than we think about it. I would guess, at least colloquially, and I've not done the history of philosophy on this, today most of us probably think about memory as simply recalling the past, that our brain stores within it memories of past experience, and they come up at different times, but it's really just all within our brain and that it can hold things. In the ancient world, they thought of it a little differently. They thought that when you experienced something, an image of what you experienced remained within you. And that image was the exact complement of the real thing. the way a signet ring fits in wax, so that your mind and the event were completely linked together. They fit together perfectly. And then after the event was over, when you remembered it, that image came forward for you and the real event came back. The experience becomes real for you when you remember it. Memory was a way for the past to no longer be the past. This, by the way, is what Jesus means when we, in the words of institution in the Lord's Supper, we say every week, do this in remembrance of me. He's saying that when you do this, the event that happened so long ago is happening now, right for you. It makes the past a present experience. See, these women don't see Jesus resurrected, but they remember. The image of Jesus brings Jesus to them. Jesus is really present for them. And that is exactly where we are. Jesus is really present for us when we remember. It's not true that the resurrected Jesus was absent for them or for us. They remembered. Jesus was present. The full experience of the resurrected Christ is here for us. We didn't miss it. They remembered, we remember. But there's more. Because after all, what did they remember? What do we remember? What was the experience they recalled that came to life for them so that Jesus was present? Because if it was just the earlier conversations they had with Jesus, well, we weren't there for that either. And it sounds like that in the knee-jerk, but I wonder if that's not complete. Because I would suggest, what prompted that memory? Why do you seek the living one among the dead? It's not just a vague living. That's why I've been translating it, the living one. It's a masculine singular participle acting as a substantive, if you're curious. It's the living one. The living one who is Jesus. And where do we seek Jesus? Where do we seek the living one among the dead? Where did they? The literalistic answer, of course, is, well, of course, they're at the tomb. They're seeking Jesus' body. But I think there's a deeper question there. Why do you seek him among the dead? I don't think the dead is in geographic space at all. They and we are seeking Jesus in our own experience, our own ability to remember, to bring Jesus to life in present for us, to make Jesus here today. If it's in our memory, it's in our being. Memory lives in us, where Jesus already resides. But our challenge is we often don't remember. Why do we seek the living one among the dead? I don't think that's about them being at the tomb. It's about being in a world that is broken and corrupted by the power of death. We as humans only can seek Jesus among the dead, among the brokenness, among the weakness and pain, because that's where we live. Perhaps the two men in dazzling robes were not actually chastising these women, as it's often interpreted. Why do you seek the living one among the dead? Maybe instead they are saying something descriptive of what we all must do. We live in the space of pain and death, and we so frequently cannot see Jesus around us. I know Many of you who I've talked to these past several months have felt at a total loss looking at our world. We see seemingly only pain and suffering. And there's hard to believe it's going to get any better at all, but seems to only be getting worse. We are in deep grief and pain because we're hurt and wounded, and we're in very real and abject grief because those we love are broken from us in conflict, in estrangement, and especially in death. So why do we seek the living one among the dead? Because we are among the dead. But that's where Jesus is too. What do these women learn after seeking this living one among the dead? They learn there is a living one, that he has risen. And that Jesus is risen does not mean that he was not there among the dead. That Jesus rose from the dead means he really was dead. That he really is among the dead. He really is where we are in pain and in suffering, and there is where he has risen. The living one is right where you are. And I keep saying this, the living one, Jesus, who brings life and life abundant. That amidst this world of death and pain, there is life. And that life is not some vague platitude, as if to say, just look at your problems of pain and grief and you can find the bright side of them without, of course, actually changing anything. Just change your own attitude or perspective. I will tell you, I don't find anything in the Bible that says that. Instead, it says, right where there is pain, and the pain really is pain, there also is Christ. Right where there is death, there also is life. It does not remove the pain and suffering of death, but it gives the joy that there is more. There is life. And not vaguely located, it's found right where you are. And it can be remembered because it's already present within you. The resurrected Christ, the living one, the one who gives life, is already present. And the grace is that whether we can sense it or not, whether we can see or remember the life among us or not, because sometimes we can and sometimes we honestly cannot, it remains there. Christ is there. Life is there. As Charlie Chaplin memorably said in his classic film Limelight, there is something just as inevitable as death, and that is life, life, life. Think of the power in the universe moving the earth, growing the trees. It's the same power within you. And we believe life is already within you because the living one is present. You've not missed it. Thanks be to God. Amen.